It's such a pleasure to be here with you guys. I'm Gina. I'm the Director of Social Media for Digital DeLane. We offer 360 marketing services, everything from website, branding, social, influencer marketing. And my background, my career in marketing actually began in influencer marketing. I developed and scaled the influencer marketing program for a fashion brand based here in LA. And then just went on to work for a tech company, providing affiliate links for influencers to link to products that they promote. So many years of experience in the influencer marketing space, and was super excited to meet you, Hazem, and Influencify, as you guys offer some really great solutions. So I'm excited to dive into it today.
That's amazing. That's really, really in-depth experience with influencer marketing, and it's really good to have somebody who really knows and been doing this for quite some time. Really happy to have you today, Gina. And now let's move to Pete. Pete, hello.
Yeah. I also thank you very much for the invitation to join this session. I'm probably the opposite to Gina in that I have very little experience of influencer marketing, but want to gain some. Little bit of background: I work for a company called Pictory.ai, which enables you to produce and edit videos very easily, very quickly, using text rather than having to learn complicated video editors. And I joined them in January of this year as their head of growth. And I'm looking at many different ways of growing the company: traditional paid advertising, media buys, Facebook, all the other stuff. But I think the main area of growth for us will come from influencer marketing. We have an affiliate program, and around 50% of our revenues come from those affiliates. But those are affiliates who are kind of fans of the program, and they're recommending us to their friends and colleagues. We have a very, very few influencers, small influencers on YouTube predominantly. So I'm looking to learn more about how to do this, and maybe make some connections with people that can help me on that journey, really. So I feel like a little bit of an imposter, because no way am I an expert. I'm here as a student and happy to share my experience, such as it is, in this topic so far.
That's wonderful, because here I'm very concerned about influencer marketing. I love this field, and the reason why I love it, it's because I feel there's a lot of potential for brands, advertisers, to grow in an authentic way and grow in a way that they aren't able to do using paid ads with influencer marketing. And this potential is farly and greatly and vastly unused for so many reasons. I still try to figure, and that's what my career now is about, trying to figure out where are the gaps. Influencer marketing is a great way for brands to give their message, to educate their customers, to build trust with community, but still they aren't adopting it, and so many people aren't adopting it, and some who are adopting it, they aren't seeing the results. So the reason why we're having these conversations is try to understand from advertiser point of view, what makes you say yes? What makes you say yes to influencer marketing, or what makes you say yes to a specific influencer when they approach you, and if they approach you or not. And later on, we're going to have another session in another week, but from the other side with the influencer, and we'll be like asking the question, influencer, what makes you say yes for their brand? So this is the idea of those sessions, is to help each other and help everybody is interested in influencer marketing understand what they can do, from experts like, for example, Gina, and people who haven't used influencer marketing like you, Pete. What are the issues that you may have faced that stopped you from using influencer? What you wish influencer marketing as an industry evolve into, so you can see real growth for your brand happening. So that's in a nutshell what we are trying to have by this conversation here. So the first question I have here is for Gina, and it's about your experience with influencers. So I would like to know if you have used influencer marketing before. Yes or no? I guess you already have for your career, but for your latest brands, for example, the one brand that you're working with at the moment, did you use it? I understand you're in an agency work, so you have multiple people. So you may have a perspective of not just your own personal one, but other brands that you're working with. Is the latest client you're working with is interested in influencer marketing? Are they like afraid of it? Your general bigger audience of people that you work with, are they like, this is something like they are asking for as much as they're asking for Facebook ads, Google ads, etc.? And why are they with, or why are they without?
Yeah, I would say generally speaking, I think brands that are interested in influencer marketing are at a stage where they're trying to grow, right? They've done the organic marketing, they've done the ads, and they're trying to understand what is another channel for growth. I think brands that haven't yet explored influencer marketing yet are kind of just in the launch phase. So I would say it really depends on what stage of the business that they're at. And I think a lot of the hesitation around developing influencer marketing programs is kind of this question of, is the juice worth the squeeze? Because traditionally, you find influencers are really great at driving things like awareness, but maybe a little bit more challenging to track things like conversions. So it really depends on, what the brand's goals are.
So the challenge that you're seeing is the tracking conversions.
Yes, absolutely. There are a slew of challenges with influencer marketing, but I would say further down the funnel, conversion is definitely a challenge for sure.
So before we move into the challenges, what makes you feel that influencer marketing is a good channel for advertising for your agency or for your brand?
Yeah, I think influencer marketing serves a lot of purposes. The first is content, right? So they can provide content not only for your social channels, but you can also negotiate usage across your website, your email. And then in addition to just the photos or videos, you can incorporate a lot of storytelling with influencers as well. So they can appear on a blog post as an editorial feature, in addition to just being on social media. The other thing, of course, is reach and awareness, right? So you work with influencers across a variety of niches, areas that have audiences in different demographics. So it gives you exposure to new audiences in an organic way. And then I would say also that, trust factor as well. I think the stats are like 80 or 90% of people buy based on recommendations of their friends and family. And influencers are very much a part of that, because a lot of them specialize in a specific niche, whether that be fashion, beauty, even in the tech space, where you have influencers giving advice about editing and things like that. And so whatever it is that they recommend, their audience trusts them. And so it's a lot easier to build relationships and trust with those audiences by way of working with influencers.
Nice. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Now, let's talk a little bit about the challenges that you face. So influencer marketing, as you mentioned, it has a lot of benefits, but I could imagine it's not always a smooth ride. So what challenges have you faced so far in influencer marketing?
By far, I would say the biggest pain point about influencer marketing is search and discovery. There are so many influencers in so many niches everywhere, and they're spread everywhere. There's no central database. There are, of course, different agencies and tech companies that have networks of influencers, but that information is scattered. And so I find, working with different brands and agencies, even if they are working with some sort of technology, or platform to help with search and discovery, a lot of that process does end up becoming very manual, because there are so many factors when, trying to find influencers. You want to find someone in a specific niche. And then let's say they are in the niche, but the quality of content isn't really up to par with what you want to do. You want to be able to not only use it on social, but you might also want to use it on your website. So the quality of the content needs to be there as well. And then you look at things like engagement rates, and then if you go further down and explore, like, can they actually convert, if that's what the purpose of the campaign is. So yeah, I would say top pain point is definitely search and discovery for sure.
Search and discovery. And I would suppose we will add to this revenue attribution that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and then down the line, conversions, right? So that's a little bit challenging to track. One, because a lot of times the way that brands and advertisers approach these influencer marketing campaigns, it's these one-off kind of campaigns. They work with an influencer once on one campaign and expect to drive conversions. But us as marketers, we know it takes 7-8 times to get a consumer or a user to convert, right? So that becomes the challenge in, trying to demonstrate value of the campaign when you're speaking to people like Pete, who's the head of growth and wants to know, what is the actual value that we're taking from these campaigns? Is it just awareness and impressions? Did we sell any, did any users actually download the app and are using them now? So that becomes a challenge, conversion, and then tracking the conversions as well, to make sure that we know that that conversion was tied to that specific influencer.
Yeah, that is something that we also here at Influencify are trying to find an answer for these problems as well. So yeah, conversion is something that for any performance team, any performance marketing team, they are used to Facebook ads or Instagram ads. I put X amount of money in, and then I want to see ROI exactly this way. And that could be a topic for another session, but this is a problem not any software alone could solve about tracking revenue, because if you think about influencer marketing, direct impact on a brand, it's not always money in, money out. There is usually indirect revenue. Maybe that's lower ad costs. For example, when you're spending your customer acquisition cost from ad, let's say it was 100, but then because you're running some influencer campaigns, then you may be seeing that the actual cost on ads have dropped. It is an impact, but it cannot be really attracted or attributed to influencer. So this is something that I find very, very interesting about attribution for influencer marketing. And I'm sure we're going to have maybe a deeper dive into this topic specifically. I think it's a hot topic for agencies, for performance marketing agencies. And there is a lot can be talked about. But let's have this for another talk. Now let's move to Pete. And Pete, I'd like to ask you the same questions about your experience using influencer marketing. I get it, you may have not been actively using it in the past, maybe just a small network of your affiliates, etc. But it would be nice to share with us your experience with influencer marketing. Why did you try to use it, and why you haven't been using, and generally your overall experience with it?
Yeah, well, why we haven't been using it so far is because I don't know how to start, to be honest. I can see, and please, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can see that influencer marketing can work on two levels. One as analogous to traditional PR. So that's where, people talk about you, and there isn't necessarily a direct way of tracking conversions from that. And possibly there doesn't need to be, because it's about awareness. I mean, when you go to an airport, Hong Kong Bank of Shanghai will have huge posters up on the wall, cost them a lot of money, no way of tracking conversions from that, but it's about awareness because it surrounds you, and eventually, a sale will come. Quite how they track that, I don't know, possibly they don't. But the only kind of influencer marketing that we've done so far is actually really easy to track. It's, you're an influencer on YouTube. Would you like to make some money? Yes. Here's our affiliate link. Talk about our software, review it, and we give a percentage of the sales that come in, and it's really trackable. And every month they get a check from us for the rest of the customer's life, if they were the initial referrer. So I don't know whether you'd even consider that influencer marketing, but that's probably about the only thing that we've done so far. I'd love to know how to do it better, but I see it as being quite complex as well. If I have an advertising budget for pay-per-click, I can go on there. It's all set up in a nice platform. I don't need to talk to anybody. I don't need to persuade anybody. I don't need to have lunch with anybody. I don't need to have a string of emails or a negotiation with someone. I have no idea what an influencer should cost. And I don't need to make a justification to my boss, to increase the budget to cover an influencer with no guarantee of return. So I don't know. And also, why would they talk to me? I have a reasonable YouTube presence. I have credibility with talking to some YouTubers, but I'm a small guy. Why would a huge influencer want to talk to me? Because I'm sure they're inundated with offers, and how do I get in front of them? So it's all a bit of a black art to me at the moment. I'm very much interested in learning, because 50% of our revenues at the moment come through affiliates, and I want more affiliates. So yes, I'm all ears.
Yeah, and what's stopping you, to summarize it, is you not sure where to start. You know what you want, but you're not sure how to get there, right?
Exactly, yeah. And I'm not sure that it's the most cost-effective route to getting affiliates, because that most of our affiliates come through them finding us rather than us going out and finding them.
Yeah, so affiliates come to you rather than, so have you had an experience where you were doing an outreach campaign for affiliates and then they were shutting you down, or how did you come to this conclusion?
The only thing I've done is reached out to a few people on LinkedIn and asked whether or not they would be happy to review or promote. And we've had a few people come back, but not the really big people. One or two big influencers could turn our company around, I think.
Okay, I got it.
And there's also just a follow-up, which I was going to mention. I made a note, Gina mentioned it. Is it a one hit, or is it an ongoing thing? Because quite often with some of the people that have been affiliates for us, they maybe have a big email list or a big YouTube presence. They'll mention the software in their content calendar, and we get a nice sort of surge of business from that. But then, they've done it. The people who want to buy us have bought us. The people that aren't going to do it again, and they're not going to mention it again. So it's kind of like a one-hit wonder. Whereas with paid advertising, if I do my numbers right, you put $1 in, you get $10 out while you're asleep, and you don't need to talk to anyone or negotiate with anyone.
Yeah, that is a good point, really. But you know what? I also think, for example, if I have a product that I'm here in Poland, and let's say I want to sell in the US, and I sell jeans or shoes. If I go ahead today and start doing ads on the US market for a Polish brand, we have surveyed some people in the past and some buyers and customers, and we asked the question, when was the last time you bought a new piece of clothing? Was it because of an ad you've seen, or was it because of a brand that you already used before, or did you just buy something completely you never heard of before? 90% of people said that they bought their last piece of clothes from a shop that they have been buying from, which they were introduced to because of a friend. Yeah. So the idea of just showing, and we actually, at that time, we were testing, and by showing ads to a group of potential customers, and the ad cost was so high. So to your point about the ads versus influencer, we came out with a very, very clear idea here. Ads, yes, they are easy to set up. You put money in, you get money out. But if you think about it, a lot of the customers, they would not buy straight away from a brand they never heard of before, just like the clothes example. A lot of the time, people want to buy something either their friends is recommending or they have been using, etc. But if you're a new brand and you want to persuade your message, just displaying it on an ad, it won't be as effective. And I wouldn't say influencer marketing is a replacement completely for ad, but I think they definitely can work hand in hand in a way that when you're running an ad, you're just putting a placement, your product placement, or just buy this product. Unlike if the influencer marketing is done right, or how I wish influencer marketing was done, where to your next point, it's not just one time and one hit and you just wait until you get the money, but actually the good relation with influencer, in my opinion, should have constant number of promotions. You have some way, some sort of collaboration that yes, there is a share commission. Yes, there is a payment in it, but it's not just one time. I don't want you to be a product placement. I want you to, for example, be talking this week about my brand, another week about my brand, the third week, and become like sort of an ambassador for this brand.
Yeah.
If that is done this way, I think it will be way better for the influencer and for the brand. But anyways, more on that later when we have question about exactly your marketing tips. But I don't want to spoil this question now. And I want to go back to Gina and with the question with makes you say yes to an influencer. The reason why I'm saying this is it is not always that you are searching for influencer. I was a brand before I started Influencify. I was part on the brand side. And we were getting lots of influencers messaging us and they're like, hey, I would like to collab, or I would like to promote you. I have X number of followers, etc., etc. So it was often that it was happening. Maybe not every brand is getting that number of people coming to them. It started to happen once you have a lot of presence. When you are already making a scene or there is a buzz around your brand, so you attract customers as well as you attract influencers. So that brings me to my question: what makes you say yes to an influencer? Whether they came to you or you are the one who is searching and you came across a database of millions of influencers or hundreds of thousands, what makes you choose a specific influencer over the other? What are you looking for in that influencer? What your expectations from this influencer are?
Yeah, I would say the key things that we look for with an influencer first is their niche, right? Do they really have authority in the space that we're looking for them to have authority in? For example, if you're a fashion brand and a beauty influencer wants to collab, that likely isn't a good fit because a lot of that beauty influencer's audience is there for beauty tips. So niche is one thing. Quality of content is another. We want to make sure, just because somebody has a lot of followers doesn't necessarily mean that their quality of content is on brand. And that brings me to my next point is like, is their content on brand? When I was working on the brand side as well, they may have beautiful content, but this was like back in the Instagram days when Instagram influencers were the thing. What we would find is some influencers, they had a specific aesthetic of their content. So they would use these filters where it would be like a pink hue over the images, and we're like, we can't use this, or it's highly saturated, so the editing, just their style was not on brand for us. So it's like the niche, are they on brand? And then I would say another thing is like their audience. So where is a bulk of their audience, and is that audience in the target market that we're trying to reach? Is their demo and the demo that we're trying to reach? And then it's also, do they have any sort of results that they can share besides just their engagement rate? Because we want to know, like, if they do affiliate marketing, do they really actually convert to sales? So those are just a few things that we look for when, we're casting.
Nice, nice. And speaking of brands, like now I asked you about what makes you say yes to a brand. When to the influencer, when a brand comes to you, because you're an agency, so when a brand comes to you, do you feel like usually they are the one taking the initiative and suggesting that we want to hire influencers, or this is something that you have to like pitch to your brands? They come to you with like, we just want social media or ads, and then you introduce them to your brand. Do you feel like brands have enough awareness about influencer marketing, or not really?
I think it really just depends on what stage they are in the business. I think when they're just starting off and they're just trying to establish a presence on social media, let's say, they're more focused on the content for their channel and they're not really focused on influencers versus a brand that's already established, their brand is already established on social media and they're looking to grow and to get to the next level. Then usually at that stage, they're looking to incorporate influencers into the mix. But I would say regardless, the knowledge of influencer marketing, even people that are in the industry, even people that work in the influencer marketing space, things evolve so quickly that there's just not a lot of information. Even as influencer marketers in the space, we're constantly like having to stay on top of what's trending and what the new thing is, and so there isn't a lot of information. So we find that there's just not a lot of knowledge on the brand side.
Nice, nice. And now that's going to take me to my last question to you is, let's say, I wouldn't call it your marketing tips, even though I want to ask what are your marketing tips, but I would say, what do you say, or what do you do for your brands? When a brand comes to you, how do you work with them in terms of influencer marketing? What are the things that you offer for a brand in terms of influencer marketing? What are the success metrics? How do you convince a brand, like as you mentioned, like not every brand, depending on the size, knows about influencer marketing. So how do you convince a brand or somebody who hasn't been or has been but haven't seen such success? So how do you convince somebody? And then not just by the words, I mean like by the actions. What services do you do? What steps do you follow? What marketing tips would you give in terms of influencer marketing for a brand?
Yeah, so I would recommend influencer marketing for a brand if we could see that it aligns with their goals, right? So if the goal is to drive more brand awareness in new markets, then it makes sense to incorporate influencers as well. And the benefits are going back to what I touched on earlier is really like three things, right? First is you get the content that you can repurpose on your social channels as well as your other channels as well, if you negotiate that into the contract. And then you get the reach from the influencer's audience, right? And then, you get that unique, authentic relationship building that the influencer has with their audience that adds to the brand's reputation and credibility, especially if this is the first time that they're hearing about it and they're hearing about it from the influencer. There's that level of trust that you're building. So just really based on the brand's goals, we would create a strategy on how to approach influencer marketing from that point and offer pretty much white glove service, top down, everything from search and discovery to casting, developing the creative briefs that outline all of the deliverables, the timeline, reviewing all that content to make sure that it's acceptable and on brand, going back with any revisions, as well as reporting, understanding, the metrics that we typically look at are either reach or impressions, and then engagement rate, and if it's conversion campaign, then conversions as well.
You're so spot on this. I love this part, this third point you mentioned about it builds a relation. When you are like with the influencers, they actually build a relation and they introduce you to the audience. It reminded me of one time I was in a conversation with somebody in a company. I wouldn't name it, but I would say that they were sponsoring Barcelona team. And this company, in this sponsorship, they pay for Barcelona, like to have their logo on their t-shirt, like millions of dollars annually. And I was speaking to the person who's managing this, and we were talking about the benefit of just showing the brand logo on the player's t-shirt versus if they would actually convert this money into hiring thousands of influencers for that amount of money, smaller, but people who are actually not just showing it as on their t-shirt, but actually talking about your brand, building this relation with their audience, making a story and speaking how that brand changed their life, how they love their product, not just a product placement. I think influencer marketing, like a very nice tip I would just add, is with influencer marketing, don't just approach it from the perspective of a product placement that you're putting your brand logo in somebody's story or line, but actually have this person to talk about you. Because what Pete was saying is that, and this is a big difference, when you are doing an ad on Facebook or Google, yes, you're paying just for Facebook, you're not talking to anybody, but nobody's talking on behalf of your brand. Nobody's saying their emotions about your brand. Nobody's building this trust and connection about your brand. And this is something you get with influencer marketing. Yes, you may add the extra step of talking with somebody, because just by convincing somebody about your brand and your mission and your goals, and they actually fall in love with your brand, you're convincing just one person. This one person is gonna cascade this message to thousands of followers. So instead of you reaching out to all of them and sharing and transferring your experience with the brand and how much you love it and how much you're passionate about it, you just can cascade it to a handful number of influencers who are going to cascade it to the bigger followers. So yeah, this tip is really something I really like. And now let's move to you, Pete, again. And with my question, what makes you say yes to an influencer? I understand that you have maybe had the opposite experience. You are trying to find the affiliates, but assuming now, and not assuming, I know now that you have access to Influencify, you have thousands of people that you could potentially reach out to. So the discovery part is already done. You're able to just send an email to somebody and pitch them to your campaign. What makes you say, yes, I want to invite this influencer, not that influencer? What makes you say this one is going to be really, really good? I'm willing to even put money behind him or sponsor that content. What makes you say yes to an influencer when you're doing your research?
Okay. Well, so far we've never paid an influencer.
Okay.
We've never been asked for money by an influencer, and we've never actively gone out seeking an influencer, to pay to run a campaign for us. All of the stuff so far, all of our affiliates, which I guess are influencers, have come to us. And we're nowhere near as sophisticated as Gina. If you want to be an affiliate, hey, yeah, you can sign up and become an affiliate. Most people that sign up to become an affiliate do very little or nothing. But then, it's like everything. There's a small percentage of people who become really engaged with the product and want to become evangelists for us almost. And those are the kind of people that we want. And they don't have to be making particularly sophisticated content. They have to be making content which is real and raw and is showing them using the product. And with its warts and all. Sometimes they say, well, I wish it could do this, but it doesn't. But it's kind of real, raw people reviewing the product. And I agree with you. That's far better than spending lots and lots of money on slick advertising. And also, you made a point about having lots and lots of perhaps smaller influencers rather than one or two huge ones. I guess is it better to have lots of local advertising or sponsor the Super Bowl? I think it's better to have lots and lots of small people. And so by the end of this month, we're in April now, we will have it so that when anybody signs up to our product, even for a free trial, we give them the option of becoming an affiliate and earning money from recommending to their friends, because we're finding that people are recommending to their friends anyway, so we may as well reward them. I'd sooner pay people who are very happy with our service money to spread the love rather than pay Google or Facebook, because frankly they've got enough money as it is. So I'd sooner it go to the people who are genuine fans of the software, and we're hoping that it will expand that way. I'm not going to use the term go viral because it's overused, and I'm not necessarily convinced that suddenly blowing up and going viral is a good thing. We want general awareness to be raised so that when anybody's searching for software that does the things that we do, they see other people saying that we're the right choice, rather than seeing us advertising that we are the right choice, because we're bound to say that, aren't we? So yeah, keeping it raw, keeping it real, but also trying to recruit people who are already customers. We've got hundreds, maybe even thousands of good reviews already for the product. And I run a Facebook group, which is probably the biggest source of our influencers at the moment, because they come in, they engage with the community, and then they may have their own Facebook groups or their own email lists or YouTube channels. But if there's a more intentional way of doing that, maybe Gina, you and I should talk at some stage outside of this forum. Yeah, I'm all ears, because I don't think many people are doing this very well, for the same reasons that I'm not doing it very well, is that we don't know how to do it.
I got it. I get it. Well, that is very interesting. Thank you very much for that. And that's it for our questions for today, guys. I think I myself learned a lot about both aspects of the equation of influencer marketing. I'll be really excited to speak to some of our influencers, to ask them questions related to your point, Pete, specifically about their views about affiliate marketing for brands. I would like to ask influencers as well what makes them say yes to brands. So I will try to let you know when we speak with our other side of the equation. But for today, that's everything. Thank you very much for your time and so useful information. And yes, let's maybe have another chat another time where we maybe have done some more work on influencer marketing, and let's see what have we did. I will be myself preparing some case studies and will be sharing with you guys what we are seeing working in influencer marketing and what is not. So hopefully I will be able to contribute to this, but also I would be like loving to hear from you again in the future. What have you done with influencer marketing as a general, not as just one tool that is being used, but generally influencer marketing, how it could impact your brand and how influencers can drive real growth for your particular brand and recognition. Thank you very much again. And thank you, Gina. And that will be all for today. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Bye.